Okay, so good afternoon. This is the last module of our course, Research Methodology, Hmm. and I hope that you have gone through other tasks and you will try to finish those tasks as soon as possible. The last task, because and I did not assign this task to you earlier because you need to first you need to understand that how literature is carried out, how the problem is identified, how the work is done, and then only you can talk about writing a research proposal for external funding. The importance of external funding is whenever whenever you are applying as a research scholar, let us say, as a PhD research scholar, or maybe you want some kind of funding from our SSIP. Okay, so as you are aware that our we have incubation center and they do provide financial assistance to the student who have a strong research proposal, or not research proposal but a kind of innovative proposal. Okay, but you need to apply. So whenever you apply for any proposal, there are few attributes, okay, about which you should be aware. So I will talk about some of the important points related to research proposal. And finally, writing a research proposal for external funding is very, very important because if you join a particular laboratory after your master's, if you join a particular laboratory for, let us say, some kind of research, or you join as a faculty, that means as an assistant professor after your PhD, let us say, so then it is expected that you will write research proposals. So it is useful at three stages. One, when you are applying for post graduation, sorry, for applying for PhD. Second, when you are applying for postdoctorate assistantship. That means you have completed your PhD and now you are looking for a research job. Hmm. And the third is that in case you become a faculty or an assistant professor in future, then also you will need this. Okay. The purpose. The purpose of this exercise, why we are doing this exercise, is to introduce a step-by-step guide to planning and writing project proposals, which has a project management techniques for external funding. So in a particular project, whenever you write for a project, it's not just the technical aspect which is involved. There are a lot many aspects like what is the existing infrastructure, how you will utilize that infrastructure, what infrastructure you are proposing, what will be the manpower involved, right? What will be the consumables? So, are you aware of recurring expenses, non-recurring expenses, consumable, and everything? Are you aware of it? Tell me yes or no. Okay, Derek is aware. Akash, what about you? Are you aware of recurring expense, non-recurring expense, consumables, assets? Akash, very good. No problem. So you should be aware of that whenever you are writing for a proposal. Okay. So you will be able to prepare a written report for competitive grant, and you will also do the planning of an analytical study or both, right? Okay. So mostly we write proposals for funding. Remember, most of the times we are writing proposals for funding. It is required for both the researchers to design and plan their research and sponsors agencies to evaluate it in the pre-selection phase. Okay, so I will talk about some of the sponsor agencies. For example, Department of Science and Technology in India is one of the sponsor agency to whom you can write the project. Okay, but when you write a proposal, you must be aware that how it is written. Then only you will get some kind of funding out of this proposal. Otherwise, it becomes almost a useless piece of paper. Fine. So, what is a proposal? It is a kind of undertaking. Undertaking means you have some kind of commitment, right? That I am going to do this work in given timeline. So it may be a short term, like 1 year or 1.5 year. That is called short term. Okay. Sometimes many project proposals are written for sufficient duration, and the sufficient duration is 3 years. Okay. Sometimes you may get an extension of 6 months, but normally the duration of a project will be 3 years. Okay. Second, it has definite objectives. This should be very, very clear. What is the objective of your work? What exactly you want to prove or you want to do? For example, your objective may be to ensure the operation of battery after the fault condition. That means if there is any fault occurring in batteries, right? So a part of the battery, not the entire battery pack, but some of the batteries in the battery pack are damaged due to some reasons. So then you are suggesting a technique to ensure that batteries will operate, your electrical vehicle will continue to operate even after the fault, provided that you will identify the fault in the battery pack and you will try to isolate some of the batteries whenever they experience a fault. So then it is appropriate to say that identification of the fault and reconfiguration of the battery pack to achieve operation after the fault condition, right? So that will become your objective. Well defined inputs and outputs. That means what input kind of input will be required and what will be the output condition. And fourth, a very important one is the objective realization. How will you ensure that objective will be realized? So two important skills are required in this case. One is the technical skill. Technically, you should be sound enough so that you can execute the project. Okay. Second is the management skill, because you have to manage the project, and at the same time you also need to present the outcomes of the project from time to time. So whenever you do some research work, see, when if you write a research proposal, let us say you get a grant or you get a funding of 1 lakh rupees, then when you complete the project, it will be expected that the output of the project will be reported either in terms of a patent, or in terms of a paper, a conference paper, or in terms of a journal paper. So then, to manage your project and your technical work both, you need to have a kind of management skills. So as it is written, technical skills are needed to conceive the research idea, justify its need, scientific and technical means to satisfy the need. And managerial skills are needed in design and implementation stages. And particularly very important one, then that is identification of resources. Okay. Otherwise, see, you buy one software. Let us say you have got the grant. Are you listening to me?
Yes, sir.
Hmm. So let us say you have received the fund for the project. So sometimes people are not aware that what they want to buy. Right. So let's say you buy one motor, and then you realize that okay, the motor that I bought, it cannot be used for electric vehicle at all. Now nobody is going to take that motor back, right? Because a lot of material and commitment and everything is involved. So you can't say that, oh, I bought a wrong motor, right? And that's why you need to identify the resource. Okay. So you will mention that this will be the motor, and this will be the specification of the motor which is needed for my project. So one of the major reason for the rejection is due to lack of managerial skill in the initial proposal writing phase. Even if your project is technically sound, it may fail if the implementation tasks are not defined properly. Okay, so a bad planning will lead to rejection of the project. Second, before you write, identify an appropriate sponsor agency, right? For example, for us, as I say, DST, Department of Science and Technology, is the good one. DBT, that is Department of Biotechnology, is also a good one. CSIR, that is Council of Scientific and Industrial Research, is also okay. They do provide funding from time to time, right? So you need to identify the sponsoring agency and their priority areas. Okay, what do you mean by the priority area? So let me show you what do we mean by the priority area. So it's not that you can submit anything to this agency. Can you see a new document?
Yes, sir.
Okay. So what do you see? What do you see here?
Proposal guidelines.
So this is actually an India European Union. EU stands for European Union. India European Union joint call on smart and integrated local energy systems. Smart and integrated local energy systems. This is the thrust area of this proposal. Understand? Now, in this proposal, they will expect you to submit proposal related to local energy systems, and that too an integrated and smart local energy system. And second requirement is that it's a joint call. That means you need to consult at least one partner from European Union countries. The European Union countries it may be France, it may be Germany, it may be Italy, it may be anything else. So you have to have a partner from one of these countries. Okay. So there are guidelines for Indian participants and then submission for the joint proposal. But as I say, it's a very specific. Remember, so this proposals are always submitted in their priority areas. So DST will define the priority area. Okay, with a particular country, you need to write a joint proposal. So most of the sponsors they encourage a multidisciplinary and multi-institutional projects. That means, see, multi-institutional. What do you mean by that? It is very much clear that a single person from a single laboratory may not be able to complete a large project. So, and it is quite possible, right? Uh, one of the professor of IIT cannot say that, okay, I can handle everything on my own. No, it's not possible. So he has to show that this is the partner institute, this is the partner industry, and we are going to do the project or complete the project um, with a kind of sharing, right? So IIT professor will do this much work, the professor from other country will do this much work, and industry will contribute in this manner. And it is expected that the project is multidisciplinary. Okay, so you can't say that, oh, I only want to design one motor. No, right? That is not possible. You need to clearly show that this motor is meant for so and so purpose, and then I'm going to add this many attributes to the design so that it will be applicable in the industry. So it has to be multidisciplinary. Many times you have to uh, add aspects related to smart designs, right? Okay. And each sponsor will have their own screening system. Okay. So if you submit to, let's say, DST, then they will identify some experts in that area and they will hand over your proposal to those experts, and then those experts will evaluate your proposal. Fine. And this everything is done on the merit basis. So your proposal should be very, very strong technically. Fine. So these are websites where you can go and find out formats. For example, mm, do you see this format? New format? Okay. So this is a generalized format for the submission of R&D project in Department of Science and Technology, India, Government of India. Hmm. So this is the general information. What is the title of your project? What is the priority area and sub area? And your priority area must match the call. Okay. Yes, yes, yes. Research and development. Yes. Duration of the project 24 months or 36 months. Total cost. This total cost must be less than the cost mentioned by the agency. Okay. For example, um, I say that the total cost will be 60 lakh rupees. Okay, 6 million rupees. Then you mentioned that what will be the foreign exchange component. How many things you are going to buy in foreign exchange? That means in euro or in dollars. Now this is actually generalized information. Let me take you back to the original thing. So what I meant to say is you can find the proposal right here in this website. Okay, everything is clearly mentioned. So what this is just written that this is required, but here we are discussing that why it is required. Okay, for example, goals and focus. Focus on developmental problem or relate to developmental problems as long-term goal, and always try to relate problem to the need of the society. Don't say that I'm doing it so that uh, I'm doing it so that the technical knowledge will be increased. Okay, so that motor will improve. No, if let us say the motor performance improves, how does it benefit others? Because this is the government, right? So their ultimate objective will be to strengthen the country, to strengthen the society. So then you need to relate your project proposal to fundamental problems. Increasing productivity, of course, and as an engineer, you can say that if I do this, then the productivity will be increased. Or second, conservation of resources. If you do this, then the efficiency is significantly improved. Okay, and that will result in reduction of energy requirement. For example, nowadays a lot of proposals related to EV are approved or renewable energy are approved. So the major reason is that when you file proposal related to EV, that means you are going to reduce the pollution, you are going to reduce environmental related issues, you are going to reduce the petrol and diesel consumption, you are going to reduce the resources requirement, you are going to use an electricity which is clean energy. So that will match your goal, clean energy. Okay. Identify the stakeholder, partner, or the team members. Who is a stakeholder? Now tell me, are you aware of this term stakeholders? Are you aware of the term stakeholders? Mm-hmm. Stakeholders means the people who will benefit one from the particular technology. People like us, normal people who will benefit from this technology. And second, another stakeholder is the the people who are involved in a particular technology. So industry will be one of the stakeholder. Okay, but you need to identify that which industry. So it will be electrical vehicle industry, which will be stakeholder in this case. Then uh, students, research scholars, they will also be stakeholders. For example, if I give you an example related to a university, so in university there are many stakeholders. Okay, one is the people who fund. Okay, so source of fund, they are important stakeholders. Second, people like us who are doing the job, right? We are employee, so we are stakeholders. As a student, as a student, you are a very important stakeholder. So in a growth of a particular university, the biggest role which is played by anybody is students. Okay. Anybody else other than management, employee, and students? Anybody else that you can suggest? No? Yeah. Faculty is already there, and we are employee. The faculty is one of the stakeholder. Students are major stakeholder. Apart from that, local community. Mm-hmm. Stakeholders are those people who have a right to have a say. For example, let me tell you, alumni, when you pass out from this university, you still are an alumni of this university. And in future, we will also ask you for your suggestions. Okay? The relation of a student with the university are not over the moment he clears the university degree. No, they are maintained. In fact, you are aware that many universities, they receive a large amount of funding from their alumni when they become successful in future. So they donate something to the university, right? So alumni is one of the important stakeholder. Another one is parent. Your parents, they are ultimately, they are paying your fees. They are your family members. Okay, so they are important stakeholders, and industry, because ultimately you are going to do the job in future, or you may become an entrepreneur. Okay, so then the industry will be another stakeholder. So that's the point. Okay, so you now why I'm doing this story of stakeholders, because in your project you have to clearly mention that this is how stakeholders will be benefited. Okay, fine. A project proposal is similar to a research paper, but with future perspective. So it is exactly like written like a research paper. In research paper, you introduce people to the problem, then you give us a kind of rationale. You propose your research method. Okay, then you show them how you have worked. You show them results. You discuss results so that people will be convinced that whatever you have done is authentic, right? Budget is a different thing. In research paper, you do not find budget, but other fields in project proposal are very much similar to research, uh, very much similar to paper, except that there is a future perspective. So you do not exactly mention that this is the technique through which I'm going to do. No, you only mention that this is going to be the solution. You do not exactly mention the solution, otherwise anybody can copy it. Fine. Title. What kind of title is considered appropriate? For example, establishment of petrocrops farming in westland of Rajasthan. So here, look at that. Farming, yes. Petrocrops, yes. Westland, oh, you are going to utilize the westland, right? Great, very good. Third, Rajasthan, it's a state in India. Fine. Animal and handicraft in urban system, a national survey. That means you are going to do a national survey related to animals and handicrafts, particularly in the urban system. Urban system means cities. So you will pick 8 or 9 or 15 cities of India or your country, let's say, and then you will do a particular survey related to animal and handicraft. For example, in this city, let us say, we have large number of cattles, particularly cows and buffalo, right? So then it's an asset, right? Cow and buffalo, they are asset. And by the way, cow of this region, they are considered a very popular. Okay, they are very popular in this country. So then your survey will ultimately help your country. Similarly, developing a low-cost technology to detect aflatoxin in chicken feed. Now, this is something different. Now, none of them are related to electrical engineering, but your project will be related to electrical engineering. Okay. Then you will tell them about background, problem statement, objectives of the work. These three are mandatory in the introduction section. Background. What is the background of the problem? A brief history. The problem statements. Okay. That what is the problem exactly and how it is addressed, and your objectives. And then background, problem statement, and objective. Everything is so what should be written in this? It is clearly given. For example, background should have review of literature. Okay. Review will also suggest you your idea for your own work, and they will convince about the knowledge in that area. Then the problem statement. Okay. So problem statement means what exactly your project is going to do. And then objective. There should be, there is the point. That objective should be measurable and specifiable so that they can be achieved. For example, if I say that improving the efficiency of brushless DC motor. Now, what do you mean by improving the efficiency? Tell me. If you propose an objective like improving the efficiency, what do you mean by improving the efficiency? For example, you take a motor with a 90% efficiency and then you improve it to 92%. But then people realize that the 96% efficiency motor is already available in the market. So it is not an improvement. So then you should say that high efficiency development of high efficiency brushless DC motor for two-wheelers. Okay. So that is called measurable and specific objective. Now remember, high efficiency, there are standards available for high efficiency. Okay. So high efficiency, when you say 80% cannot be considered high efficiency naturally. Okay. And then each objective must be clear with indication to broad and specific measurable output. And you must be able to achieve it. For example, if you say that eradication of poverty in state, can you eradicate the poverty completely from the state? Is it possible? No. Okay. You cannot completely eliminate poverty. So that means you can never achieve that outcome. But you can certainly reduce the poverty of the state by at least 10%. Fine. Okay, rationale. So this is called a specify the hypothesis corresponding to each of the objective and involvement of stakeholders. Fine. It's a hypothesis. Fine. Research method. This is going to be completely technical and it can only be evaluated by the expert of your field. Previous information, anybody can read them and interpret what you want to say. Okay, but here in research method, the part is very, very technical. And then you exactly show that what will be your contribution to the project, what new you are going to do. Right? Fine. The schedule of the work. That means suppose you here, you have mentioned all the activities and their methodologies in the research method. You mentioned that these are activities which are going to perform. For example, I will verify the efficiency of the brushless DC motor, and then I will test it, and I will improve the one, propose a new one, and then uh, compare the new one with the old one. Fine. So then all these things should be mentioned in the work program. When will you do it? Will you do them in first year? Are you going to do it in 1.5 year, or you are going to do it in 2 years? So that should be clearly mentioned. For that, we use something like flow chart, Gantt chart, PERT chart, and others. Okay. Have you ever worked with this PERT or Gantt chart? Okay. Let me show it. So this is the PERT chart. Look at this. There are 4 tasks mentioned: customer account, shopping site, shopping cart, and testing. Fine. And then this is a PERT chart which mentions that customer account and shopping site related work will be done in the 1st June 2017 to 4th June 2017. So this will take, first task will take 3 days. This task, designing a new theme and everything, this will take 8 days. Based on this work, we are going to do the shopping cart. So it will start from 9th June and are completed on 17th June. Whereas applying the new theme to the site will take 9th June to 24th June. So this way, everything is mentioned in terms of timeline. So there is a clear timeline. As I said earlier, there is a clear timeline for each and every work. Understood? Okay. Of course, it should be feasible, and all the activities that you do, your partners, yeah, you need to clearly specify their role, what they are going to do, what will be the work division with your partner, and how much amount will be shared with your partner. That everything should be mentioned. Okay. The budget part, you need to mention the budget, a specific budget with everything in detail. Of course, you cannot mention everything, each and every part in detail, but Most of the things should be very clear. One is salaries, how many people will be involved and how they will be paid, recurring and non-recurring expenses, and they should be specified in year wise. Okay. Now, let me tell you what do you mean by project staff. Sorry, what do you mean by salaries? Salaries means for a project, we hire senior research fellow. SRF stands for senior research fellow, and JRF stands for junior research fellow. Okay, and then there will be a scientist. Now, all of them, will they be hired for all 3 years? It may not be possible. So, for example, you may hire SRF for second and third year only. JRF is hired for all 3 years, and scientist is hired only for second year. That is possible. Okay. Then which equipment are involved? Okay. Now, if you are already drawing a salary, now many people make mistake here. For example, you think that, oh, we got the project, so we can get the salary out of the project also. No, it is not possible. Okay. So it's a kind of volunteer work. You don't get anything extraordinary. So you don't get anything extra for doing the project, by the way, let me tell you. Okay, and that's why only university people do this. Industry don't do this every time. Not many industries, few of them might be doing it. Okay, but the person who supervises the entire project, he doesn't get anything out of it, not as a direct benefit, at least. Fine. So there will be one SRF. This is a person who is hired full time. JRF, who is hired full time, and scientist, this is also hired full time. And these people will do the work actually under the supervision of the professor who has written the proposal. Then equipment. So equipment means it may be PC, but normally proposing a PC is not encouraged. These two things are not encouraged unless you cannot unless you cannot work without those things. For example, you need a special type of PC. Now, let me tell you, sometimes for scientific computing, high-end scientific computing, you need a special type of computer which will cost nearly 3 lakh rupees or 7 lakh rupees. So obviously, your institution is not going to provide it. Your university is not going to provide it. So you may put it here, but not an ordinary PC. Fine. Then software. So if there is any proprietary software which you must have to execute the project, then you can mention the software here. Then database and data logger. This is something related to computer people, but in equipment, what we can propose is, for example, there may be a controller. So in our research laboratory, there are few equipments, and most of the equipment they fall under the category of equipment actually. Okay. So whatever you see in our research laboratory, most of the things they are equipment. For example, digital storage oscilloscope is equipment. Inverter stack is an equipment. RTLab controller is an equipment. Everything is an equipment. Okay. Then this comes under non-recurring expense. What do you mean by non-recurring? Non-recurring means you are not going to repeat that expense again and again. Once you buy an inverter stack for your project, you do not buy it again and again. So you don't buy the one inverter stack in the first year, one in the second year, and one in the third year. You don't do that. So that comes under non-recurring expense. Recurring expense means PCB printing. Now you don't know when and how many times you need to print your PCB. Okay. So if your project involves printing the printed circuit board, then it becomes a recurring expense. If you have to do some kind of 3D printing, then it becomes a recurring expense. If you have to buy a stationery, by the way, that comes under contingencies. Okay. So whatever I'm mentioning here, printed circuit boards and electronic components and resistors and capacitors and everything, they come under consumable. Then domestic travel, because many times in the project you may have to travel a lot, maybe due to the conference, attending the conference, or you may want to meet an industry or test your outcome with an industry product. So you go to a particular location, you take your product there and you test it under that environment. So that will involve a kind of domestic travel. So that domestic travel is written here. Others are fine. So you don't need to go much into the detail. What I want to learn, what I want you to learn is this part. In this case, you can mention anything, by the way. Fine. So here you can mention anything, but what you should focus upon is the part number 1 to part number 6. Now, you don't need to write everything in details. You don't need to fill pages. Remember, it should be specific and written in minimum words. For example, the entire project summary and everything, they are covered in 500 words only. 500 words means it hardly takes 1.5 page. So the summary of the entire project should be covered in 500 words. You may write up to 300 words. No need to go beyond that. Then introduction. So what will be the origin of the proposal? What will be the definition of the problem? What will be the objective? Review and status of R&D. So international status, national status, that means what has been done at the international level, what has been done in this country, what are the relevant references for that, okay, and then other things. Okay, now is there any part or any component about which you want to discuss? Tell me. See, if you have any confusion, any question, tell me right now. See, on the last day, sorry, this is the general information, this document. I have already shared this document and it is there in your assignment. This document. So you don't need to do anything in the section A, but you need to write. I'm not asking for PPT from you, dear. We are talking about proposal, project proposal right now. What is your question, Akash? If you are talking about project phase 2, so a 20-page report may be enough for project phase 2. Okay, only mention those things which you have done, and then some background theory and your literature work and other things, right? And slides should be enough to justify your work. I'm not asking for 60 slides or 70 slides. Even if there are 15 or 16 slides, those 15 slides should justify the work that you have done. Okay. If it's thesis, it's fine. It's different thing. So thesis may be 60 pages, 80 pages, 90 pages. That depends on the work you have, amount of work that you have done. Okay. MTech thesis. But the project report, I do not expect it to be 50 pages or some 90 pages. No. 20 pages report is enough. Okay. Now, do you have any question? See, whatever query you have, you raise it now. Don't say on the last day. Okay. For example, I'm taking Viva was of everything on the last day, and you are not able to finish the work. And then you say that, sir, I did not know what to write in the review and status, so I could not complete it. No. From 1 to 6. Now, see, you can use any template or anything in order to complete this. For example, you want to mention the time schedule of activities. Okay, let's not go for this one. We will do this in the next semester. Only confine your discussion up to 1 to 5. Understood? So limit your tasks up to 5 number. Project title will be 1 line. Project summary will be 1 page. Keywords will be 3 to 4. Introduction, that is origin of the proposal, half page. Definition of the problem, not more than half page. Okay, only 1 paragraph. Objectives will be 3 to 4 lines. Okay, international status means literature review of international and national level. Then relevant references. Importance of the proposed project in the context of current status. This should not be more than half page. Okay. Review of expertise available with the proposed investigative group in institution. You can mention about the expertise available in our institution. Okay. For example, what is the expertise of our institution? So we are good at, let us say, power quality. We are good at renewable energy. We are good at electric vehicle. So these are some of the expertise available in our institution. And finally, the list of references, everything. So I will mention everything, and then I will share it in the form of Word document. Right? Okay. So any other question? Fine. Then I think you can start working on it. You just tell me what will be your title, and then you can start working on it. Whatever fits into the proposal, Derek. Anything that falls under the category of proposal. Fine. Okay.